Today, I'm delighted to say that I'm in conversation with Julia Silva, founder of Qualified Tutor, a professional development community that develops and certifies tutors. And I'm also here with Odette Wohlman, co-founder. Tutoring's not easy, but it's really worthwhile. And it can be lonely and it can be overwhelming. So tutors can feel a bit out of touch and at the same time a bit out of control. So at Qualified Tutors, Julia champions tutoring. Through events, community, training, and certification, she empowers tutors to transform their lives, starting with their own. And she provides her members with the support, the guidance, and the infrastructure that they need to thrive. And in her upcoming book, Love Tutoring, How to Be the Tutor Your Student Needs, it really is a beacon of insight for both a novice and an experienced tutor. And it's a real treasure trove of practical wisdom, offering, I think, really invaluable guidance on every aspect of the tutoring profession. So she lives in North London with her husband, Simon, her 5 children, and her Labrador puppy, as if she hasn't got enough to do. Let's find out some more. Thank you for joining me today, Julia.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for the warm welcome.
Well, listen, I've mentioned it a little bit there, but in your own words, tell us about your journey. How did it all begin and how did you get to this point?
Absolutely. So my background is in school leadership, and I was a leader in a primary school. I finished my NPQH, my qualification in headship, and I was looking for a bigger challenge, but I didn't really want to take on a big school because school leadership is a great, big, endless task, and I did not feel that I would personally thrive in that sort of a job. So what I was looking for was a way to repurpose my commitment to supporting the staff, supporting the adults who are working with the children to make a real lasting difference, to improve things for the children.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about which educators are there out there who need that support, but not within the school environment. At that time, I remembered that when I had been a tutor, I had really struggled. So when my kids were little, I did a lot of tutoring and I found it lonely. And I found that lack of professional dialogue very, very difficult because the parents don't really know how to advise you or support you or give feedback with you. So
Yeah.
having somebody to discuss what works well in tutoring was a real lack in my tutoring process that I felt was something as a school leader I could address. And then finally, there was one moment when I realized that as a mum, when I was looking for tutors for my own children, it was too easy to find a tutor, not too difficult, too
Right.
easy.
That's
So the online
interesting.
platforms make
Yeah.
it so easy to register yourself as a tutor with very, very little in terms of checks and balances. How would a parent know how to choose a tutor wisely? So, with those
Mm.
3 hats that I wear, the school leader, the tutor, and the parent, I created Qualified Tutor to create clarity, to create community, and a sort of robust understanding of what good looks like in tutoring.
Mm.
And then a magic moment happened, which was I met Odette, my business partner and co-founder of Qualified Tutor, on the playground. And
Wow.
I have 5 kids and she has 4. And between us, we have a great need of tutors. Each of our children has their own, like all of our children, has their own learner profile and their own specific needs. And between us, what we've learned is that tutors need a lot of support to be able to deliver that to parents. So Odette really was the missing piece when she came on board because Odette's background is in business development and building global teams. And therefore, she was able to give tutors the business support that they need. So between us, I have the sort of teaching and learning hat, and she has the business development hat. And that helps us to speak to the whole tutor because really, as a tutor, as a freelance educator, you have to bear in mind your business needs and working on your business as well
Yes.
as we say in your business on the one-to-one tutoring or small groups or whatever it is that you're doing. Does that sound?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Because also what's great is it's really robust for parents as well.
Yes.
That's what I like. Is
Perfect.
obviously I'm a former deputy head as well. So and you were a head. So it's really interesting that there's a place to go that parents can feel, oh, this is robust and they've been checked and they are trained. And also the tutors, can get training and feel part of a community and feel that they are supported and guided and nurtured, so it's not quite so lonely. I think it's raising the standards all round around tutoring, because it's an important thing. This is not just about hot housing kids, is it? It's about supporting each child's needs. We had a tutor for Molly. My husband is a chartered accountant, and Molly is not great, or wasn't, God bless her, now she's nearly 30. She wasn't great at the numbers. So he would sit with her and do her maths homework and explain it. And he had been a former teacher as well. So he used to sit with her and think, she's not getting it that way, I'll do it this way. And in the end, she'd get kind of annoyed. He'd get a bit frustrated and go, well, I don't know what to do with her because she doesn't get it now. And then we found a wonderful tutor who was patient and had different insights and a different way with it. And Molly started to not catch up, but thrive and enjoy her maths. We weren't trying to hothouse her through anything, but we wanted her to sort of make progress in it. And she was kind of not engaging with it. So tutors do a really wonderful job if everyone's understanding where it's going and what it's about to achieve. So it's really great.
There's a real understanding of the spillover effect of tutoring. So when you boost a student's confidence in one area, it actually, what you start showing them is, if I put in the right effort, I can achieve. And so, yes, and so it's well documented that you will give a student support in maths and you will see them improve in science and even in English and history as well, because all of a sudden the way that they perceive themselves as learners is raised up.
Isn't that magical?
Isn't that magical?
And that's something perhaps parents don't even think about. No. And that is wonderful, because I'm very interested in self-esteem for children. Yeah. So it's again about boosting that confidence a bit, the ability to have a go, that increases as well, doesn't it? As someone who is helping them on this new journey for them. It's fantastic, isn't it?
It is fantastic. And I think as we're talking about that, another important element is that vicious cycle that children get into with low self-esteem. Yeah. Right. And parents are often, and I talk as a mum, at a loss to know how to help. Yeah. But bringing in a tutor is something that you have control over as a parent. You may not be able to change the school, and you certainly can't change the teacher in the classroom. But if you can bring one element that makes a difference to the child, that's your lever to start opening things up and making things better. We know, Odette and I know, that our tutors consider themselves coaches and academic mentors as much as they do focusing on the academics, on the learning itself.
That's really interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that side of it. You help people become that, do you? When you
we do
qualified tutors? Yeah,
we do. That's so interesting. If you think about the concept of be the tutor your student needs, that goes way beyond pass your maths GCSE, although of course passing maths GCSE does unlock doors. It's important. Yes. But being the person, being that trusted adult for a child involves a great deal of personal development and ongoing reflective practice. So Odette and I are really determined to help tutors to reflect on what's working well and take responsibility for being that lead learner that makes a lasting difference to each child, because you'll know from your own children that they'll tell you about a teacher or a tutor or an adult that they worked with once who was a touchstone, who gave them a sense of confidence. Yeah. Yes. That's who we are as tutors. That's what we sign up for.
Wow. That's really powerful, isn't it? And people, searching through, oh God, he's got to pass his geography exam. Where should we find a tutor? This is a very different level of thought goes into this as well. Of course, you have to have the skills, but also there's far more going on underneath than that. So tell me then, what makes a good tutor, would you say? What sort of qualities does a good tutor need?
Well, in my book, I talk about the 3 keys of effective tutoring as reflectiveness, responsiveness, and relationship. So the element of relationship, which I break down as a positive, respectful, and trustful relationship with students, is that opportunity for the tutor and the student to have that trustful relationship, which is the opportunity to step out into the unknown, to have a go, to not be afraid of judgment. Yeah. So where the tutor is the guide, the Sherpa, leading them through unknown territory, and the student feels able to have a go and knows that they'll be helped along the way. So So that's the relationship element of it. But relationship has to have purpose. Yeah. So we're not just friends here. We're actually
Yeah.
going somewhere. And
Yes.
that responsive element is what comes next. So whereas a teacher in a classroom is committed to a midterm plan that says over the next 6 weeks, I have to cover these learning objectives, the tutor doesn't do that. The tutor shows up every moment to deliver to the student precisely what they need. They adapt their pitch, that's how difficult the work is, and their pace, how fast or slow their work is, to make sure that the student is absolutely optimized in their learning. There's no point in going quickly if the child's not with you, when it's just the two of you in the classroom, you know? There's no
Yes.
point in giving them work that's too easy or too. And if you think about in a classroom of 30, a teacher would love the opportunity to go around to every child and optimize precisely. I mean, it's something that actually the computer-based learning can help us with a lot. But that responsive element is not just in terms of knowledge and skills, it's also in terms of attitude. So what the tutor can do to improve the attitude of the child as a learner is also part of what we're looking for there. And then finally, reflective practice. So I don't challenge my dentist or my lawyer that they, I don't tell them that I know better than them, right? Because I trust them that they are professionals and they are trained and they deliver expertise. Tutors have to be that person too. We're not answerable to parents. They are our clients, but we as professionals have to be in control of our own professional development and of our own success as a professional. So measuring your own impact as a tutor, understanding what's working well and what to improve on next becomes part of the commitment of being an effective tutor.
That's so interesting. I've never really heard people talk at that level about the importance of tutoring and what the qualities need to be. So, what do parents then need to think about and ponder before they hire a tutor for their children?
Odette, do you want to dive in on this one? Yes.
Sure. It's a very simple check. The first thing, the most basic check is a 5-point check. And every tutor is different because the student needs something different. And because whether it's one-to-one or group learning, that tutor can customize, personalize for that individual. So Julia and I have spent many hours devising a 5-point check for parents as a basic check. Yeah. And the first thing we looked at was safety. Because the skills come afterwards and the parent has to warm to that tutor as well. So what we looked at was that 5-point check. So our 5-point check is enhanced DBS and on the update service. Now, schools have access to a barring list. So they get notification and they can search if somebody has been convicted of something. Yeah. Tutors don't get access to a barring list. We don't get access at all. And we have a wonderful relationship with dbs.gov.uk. They are superb. They're doing some webinars with us over the next few months. And they love what we do because we say as an independent tutor or a tutoring agency or business that's providing tutors, every single tutor should have an enhanced DBS and be registered on the annual update service. That means we can do daily DBS checks. That means we have created our own API script that checks every single tutor against that. Now, as a parent, if I'm not choosing a tutor from Qualified Tutor, that's fine. I can ask them for their DBS number, and as long as they're registered on the update service, they can go onto the government website, search them and check it. No problem at all. But the reason we state that they should be on the update service means that we can do that check or a parent can do that check. So we say to a parent, even if you're not choosing a tutor from Qualified Tutor, make sure they have an enhanced DBS and they're on the update service. The second piece is safeguarding training. We encourage our tutors to keep up to date with their safeguarding training because it's not just, have they got a criminal record? Are they in a step where they're actually preventing, for themselves and for the student? The next one is terms and conditions. Are they working as a professional tutor? Do they have terms and conditions for their clients? Does the parent know that if they cancel with less than 4 hours notice, that they're going to be charged full price for it? Be transparent, be upfront. The next piece is insurance. There are tutors that are working with no insurance, whether it's online or in person. So what happens is, if it's in person, they should have public liability insurance. And whether it's online or in person, they should have personal indemnity to protect themselves and their clients. And the last one is client reviews, verified client reviews, because that actually tells us if they're good or not. So we ask for 5 in the last 12 months. We have tools in our community where tutors can go out and, you know, ask for reviews. We have thank you notes, we have reviews on our directory, but we accept all types of reviews on their website and their emails and their Google and their Facebook and whatever they're using. We'll accept that. And we do a manual audit check on those 5 points. And that's what we recommend to any parent to go and look for when hiring a tutor. And if they don't want to ask those questions, that's fine. Just go on our directory, because we only list tutors that have been certified against that 5-point check on our directory.
That is totally reassurance, isn't it? Yeah. In a very succinct way. Talk about making sure a parent really feels that the tutor is robust, protects their kids, as well as then, after all those wonderful things you do, then they can get on and sort of tutor them in maths or science or whatever, English.
But that's it. That's why it's a basic. That's why it's the first step. And then what we have is an awards program. So the tutors can then level up. So we have foundation, advanced, and mastery level. The points are totally transparent. You can see what they're checked against. So if you want to have a higher level tutor, you'd go for a mastery level that's got higher levels in skills and supported. And we look at safe, skilled, and supported, and that they're our measurements. So yes, there is a certified level, but then we also level them up if they choose to opt in. Nothing is mandatory for our members, because it has to be what's right for them. Where me personally, I've come from a background in startups and corporates, and, you know, there's awards and this, but in this industry, you apply for awards. We have many tutors that would never apply for an award. And I tell you what, they're awesome. They are absolutely awesome. But to opt into our awards program, they provide evidence, we check against it, and we provide them with a credential, and we share an award with them that's right amazing. To their level.
Yeah, interesting. So what subjects are you across? All of the subjects from all of the ages? Tell us a little bit more about the directory for parents who are interested in finding out.
Everyone. Every type of tutor is on there. Every subject is on there at all levels. We don't exclude anybody. The idea of qualified tutor is that it's inclusive for the tutor and for the parent. So it's one-stop shop for everything.
So is it online tutoring, or is it in person, or is it hybrid, or is it mixed? Yeah.
Both. We've got online, face-to-face, tuition centres we have. We have hybrid learning, group tuition, one-to-one tuition, everything. And on the directory, you can go in and search. So as a parent, you might only want face-to-face. You put face-to-face, the area that you're in, and those tutors would come up.
Wonderful. And do you work hand in glove? You must do, with schools that they recommend you, or do they see you as a sort of a threat to them, or are they open-handed and want to welcome you to work with some kids, or how does it work with schools?
It's a very, very good question. Schools are governed by the Department of Education of where they can go. So the Department of Education will give them guidelines, and what will happen is many of them will go to a tuition business more than an independent tutor to ask for alternative provision support or tuition support, previously in the National Tutoring Programme. And what will happen is they will have their own set of guidelines that they will want. So even when a tutoring business has their own set of things that they've done and they've completed, they will ask them to complete more or again. So each school works differently. We do have some lovely relationships with some fabulous academies, and they know what we do. So they will often say to us, you know, do you have a recommendation of a tutoring business we can work with?
Gosh, that's so interesting. So tutors can apply to you, can they directly, or how does it work? How do they get in contact with you?
Julia, do you want to answer this one? You want me to carry on? Okay. So a qualified tutor can apply to be a tutor. A tutoring business can apply to be a member as well. We have 2 memberships. You complete the application form and you come join. It's a monthly subscription. It's that easy.
Yeah.
And don't turn anybody away. And the reason being is once you're in, you can then opt in to be certified, opt in to join the awards program, opt in to join an event. So sometimes what we find is Julia will get a message from someone and they're like, completed all of the training. I've sat on all of the events, but you've never met me because I stayed really quiet because I wasn't comfortable or confident to do that. We find a lot of tutors coming through now that maybe are leaving school. So some of them are qualified teachers working in school and maybe want to do something different. So they'll sit in the background very, very quietly and suddenly they'll pop up. And we're like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. And they're like, well, we've met you. We've been here for the last 3 years. Oh, wow, great to meet you. So we have some glorious relationships like that, but nobody's excluded. Everybody's included. Many of our events are live streamed to LinkedIn and YouTube to ensure that our standard is met. And our mission, and you spoke earlier on, Sue, about raising standards. And that is our strapline, raising standards in tutoring together.
Yes.
And the piece at the end of together is so important for our mission because Julia knew she couldn't do it on her own. I can't do it on my own as a parent. We have to do it together. So collectively, and we talk about hive mind all the time around how we come together with a hive mind and then it grows. That's exactly our approach with Qualified Tutor. And we have
so interesting, so inspiring, isn't it, as well, to hear it? And isn't it funny, just a chat on the playground can lead to extraordinarily inspiring stuff. I tell you what I'd like to do now is ask Julia about her new book that she's written, why she's written it, who's it for, when's it coming out, and tell us all about it.
Oh, thank you, Sue. The amazing thing about a book is that it persists. It sits on shelves, it sits on coffee tables, it goes into secondhand bookshops, it goes and goes, and books have lives of their own. The qualified tutor message and the love tutoring vision is something that has to persist. It has to go out into the world and make change. And that's why I needed to write this book, so that all of the big ideas you said earlier that you've not heard of tutoring, thinking about tutoring at this level, that's what our book is intended to do. It's intended to level up the thinking around tutoring. So when I stepped into this space 4 years ago, it was assumed that if somebody had a degree from Oxford, then they would be an effective tutor. Or if somebody has a PhD in physics, then they would be an effective tutor. Neither of those things are true. They might be, but they're not close enough to the truth of what being an effective tutor is. So unpicking those concepts and exploding the misconceptions around tutoring, that tutoring means the teacher's failed, or tutoring means the child has failed, or tutoring means the parents have failed, when actually choosing a tutor is just a real kindness. It's an addition. It's that additional instrument in the orchestra of tutoring, of education. What we're able to do as tutors is something that complements what's happening in school. At a time when that's more necessary than ever. We know currently 1 in 4 children are working with a tutor, and yet tutoring is unregulated, which is why we have our certification process. Tutors are underdeveloped, which is why we have our training. And the book brings all of those ideas together in a way that actually takes a person and turns them into an effective tutor, and is also really aspirational. So I use this metaphor in the book of the canary, the phoenix, and the dove, where the canary is that sensitive soul
I
who
like that.
who struggles in the classroom, either as a child or as a teacher, who says, this doesn't quite gel for me. I feel constricted. I feel judged. I feel that the expectations of school are too much for me, but I would love to be an effective educator. So those are our people, those people who burn out in school, who opt out of school because it doesn't work for them. And then they go ahead and they build tutoring businesses. And I call them the phoenixes because they rise up out of the ashes. And rather than taking that breakdown and letting it ruin them, they turn it into a breakthrough where they find a new way of being and working. And those are the phoenixes. But it actually gets even more interesting because some of us turn into doves. And those are the ones who are looking for more hopeful ways of being, who are actually leading change in education. I think about the people who are still working in schools. Sue, you and I aren't working in schools anymore. Those people who are still working in schools are holding the buildings up right now. And we saw in COVID how necessary that was. But those of us who are outside of the school walls have a responsibility to reimagine education and actually lead change in education. And those are our doves. So if you think about that journey of the canary, the phoenix, and the dove, and how tutoring in its flexible, fulfilling way enables us each in our own small way to be that person, it becomes really inspiring and actually helps you to think about what it is that you really want to contribute and be that person in this world.
Tell me then, as a dove, I love the analogies, absolutely love them. And I talk about Phoenix when I work with a lot of parents going through divorce, and I talk about the Phoenix stage where you turn the corner and then you rise again, etc. But tell us about the doves. Now you're clearly a dove, and do you go into schools or do you talk to organizations, or who do you go out and, try and change education in a nice way, in a positive way?
Yes, well, definitely about positivity. So I love to go into schools and talk about safe, skilled, and supported, because really, ideally, you don't want canaries at all. You want thriving people inside schools, children and adults. And then the alternative provisions that we bring will be additional, complementary, or, extra. The fact that we have this crippling need for tutoring at the moment is something that I would much rather, we call it upstream solutions. Yes. So going up and fixing the bridge so that people aren't falling off it anymore is the metaphor there. So I like to go into schools and talk about creating a culture where the staff feel safe, skilled, and supported. Because when they ask their questions, they say what they need. When they feel safe, when they feel skilled, they engage with the thinking of being ready to take on the future of education, and they actually become far more knowledgeable and able to make change inside their environment. So being skilled in today's world is a constantly changing endeavor. AI, technology, mental health, all of these things are urgent needs, and teachers have to stay ahead of those expectations. So being safe and being skilled are then commitments to making sure that you are the person that the children need inside school. And then finally, being supported. So do you feel supported in your school environment? And are you supportive? Are you supportive of the people around you? Because we know that when, we're all givers, that's why we wanted to be teachers in the first place. So if we can build ourselves up and create cultures inside school where people feel safe, skilled, and supported, we will turn the tide on recruitment and retention in schools. And that, for me, is a really, really powerful upstream message for schools. We're looking at symptoms rather than, we're looking at the causes rather than just the symptoms. When I talk to tutors, I talk very much about this opportunity to find your element, as Ken Robinson says.
Yes.
You find your your passion in tutoring, and understand that tutoring enables you to personalize the way you work, not just for your students, but also for yourself. Choose your hours, choose your niche, choose your prices, build a business that actually works exactly to who you want to be. And that for us, as you know, many of us who have been through school, you know, worked in schools or worked in corporate environments, is not something we're used to. We're not used to those freedoms. So being able to unpack what those freedoms and the responsibilities behind those freedoms are becomes really, really interesting for tutors. And finally, when I speak to parents, I talk about the fact that you are a superhero if you find what your child needs. And if it's a tutor, or if it's a coach, or if it's, taking them swimming, whatever it is that your child needs, to understand clearly what you're trying to achieve with your child in their education and their learning, and then helping them to get there. Those are immense skills in parenting. And I can tell you, I'm up to my eyeballs with it right now. And it's not easy, but that
Yes.
message of it takes a village to raise a child is
Yes.
true than ever. And for me, your message around being intentional about the use of screen and the use of social media is so it's right at the core of what our society needs at the moment. And
Mhm.
we as practitioners, as parents, as educators, we need to start bringing those healthy, helpful messages.
I was going to ask you, it's International, I think, Mental Health Week this week I've just seen, and I'm very interested in the well-being of children and parents and teachers, the whole thing. We're all in it together. We're all different parts of the jigsaw. And I can hear from what you're saying also that having a tutor that is in a good place themselves, or having a teacher who's in a good place themselves, but it's all about actually not just the self-esteem, there's the mental health aspect actually. Do you want to talk a little bit about the benefits of that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly, you've put it beautifully, because what we know is that when we raise up the tutor,
Yeah.
they do better work for the children.
Yes.
And that overflow of well-being is really, really powerful. We think about it as a sort of as an overflow, but also the ripple effect. So
Yes.
if you think about, and Odette and I know this personally, when our children have run out of good behavior and they are totally burned out, but a healthy, happy adult comes into the home and sits with them and gives them a really positive learning experience. And it doesn't have to be a full hour. It could be half an hour if that suits the child better, but something that really helps them to key back into their well-being, so that
Yes.
then the child comes back into the family environment feeling better and lifting the mood. The ripple effect for the whole family can be immense. The parents start feeling more confident about what they're giving to their children, and are they doing a good job, which, as we know as parents, we're constantly asking ourselves, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
all of the self-doubt can be alleviated, lightened, by just bringing a bit more goodness and wellness into the home. So that message of safe, skilled, and supported is really a message of well-being.
It is. And the next question, and probably my final one in a minute, I think, I could talk to you all day, is about children with additional needs. Tell me about tutors and additional needs.
There are lots and lots of niches within tutoring. It goes way beyond test prep. It goes way beyond exam preparation. What we find is that in primary school, there's a lot of support of students with additional needs, specifically dyscalculia and dyslexia. We work closely with occupational therapists and with speech therapists and the whole team around the child. And then as that gets further up the school and further during their academic development, we find that there's a bigger focus on the organizational needs of ADHD, the communication skills and life skills of ASD, the need to support children who are not attending school at the moment, which we know
Yeah.
is a
Yes.
growing area. Well, those children are also
Yes.
supported by alternative provision services. So
Yes.
many of our members are providing support either inside school or in the home, or they actually run centers for alternative provision. Those are children who have emotional based school non-attendance. It's not that they won't go to school, it's that they can't go to school. The environment stresses them out.
Yeah.
Tutors are there to support those children. We work with some tutors who support reading in prisons, literacy in prisons.
Right.
With tutors who work with chronic disengagement, so these are the children who have the toughest lives in our country, and they are not necessarily working on maths and English. They may
Yes.
well be playing football or walking on the beach with these children.
Yeah.
Anything to help to reintegrate them. And those tutors are amazing. You'll find that in the boot of their car, they'll have woodwork, they'll have you know, tons of different tools and resources just to build engagement. Because really what we know is that we're living in a mental health pandemic. And
Yes.
really what we know is we need to turn the tide on that by being adults who are inspiring trust.
Yes.
And that means going to where the child is and moving them forward from there. And at the bottom line, that's what a tutor does. They go to where the child is.
That's so powerful. Honestly, I just have to take a breath. That's amazing, isn't it? And so reassuring for parents to hear you, you know, speaking from such passion and from your heart. So, you know, when is the book coming out? Where can people find all about you? Where can parents find your directory? Where can tutors go to discover you? I mean, there's so many threads here. So just tell us all about where people can go on social media and your website.
Absolutely. So the website is qualifiedtutor.org. If you're a tutor, you can become a member there. If you're a parent, you can find a member there. If you're a reader, you can find out about my book, which is coming out in autumn there. If you would like to book me for an inset, you can find out how to do that also, qualifiedtutor.org. We are very busy on LinkedIn. We love LinkedIn. That's our place. We are quite active on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but you can find us also by booking in. So if you come to the Qualified Tutor website, you will qualifiedtutor.org, you will find options to book in a meeting with me or with Odette. If you want to talk about teaching and learning, if you want to talk about the tutoring experience, if you want to talk about building up your business as a tutor, about starting and scaling, we are here to connect with you. Our favorite thing to do is to meet and talk with tutors. And again, if you're a parent, we'd be happy to support you also. So go to the qualifiedtutor.org platform if you want to book in a call with us, or if you want to become a member, and follow us on LinkedIn if you want to learn more about our message.
Wonderful. Well, ladies, it's been a joy and a real pleasure. And it's been lovely to listen and lovely to find out more about all the wonderful things that you're doing. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Sue. You've been amazing.